Welcome! You're listening to Making Relationships Work. We're a company focused on women and their marriage. We lead and teach women just like you how to grow into and access, whenever you need to, your wise woman self. The part of you who is deeply connected to your purpose, your innate wisdom, and your husband and family. We teach women in marriages how to rebuild trust and connection, to work through conflicts, no matter how deep, no matter how painful, and to lead your marriage to a place where the two of you experience marriage mastery. This podcast is about learning the systems and techniques that truly work to reconnect you back into your marriage so that you can experience the freedom that comes with a masterful marriage. Since this podcast is totally free, if you're getting tons of value and you want to support us and make sure that you get more of this good stuff, subscribe below and rate and review our podcast today. Now, on to the show. Hello, Women Making Marriages Work. Hello, Making Relationships Work, our Facebook and our YouTube. It's beautiful to be with you tonight. And tonight we're going to talk about failure and how important failure is in order for us to learn, in order for us to grow, in order for us to decide to do something different. Because it's not until something really doesn't work that we take notice. Most of the time we get through life by avoiding or minimizing. We look to think our way out of things. We look to distract our way out of things. We look to any kind of thing we can do to avoid the pain and to avoid the suffering of the self that we have. And the self that we have has suffering when there's a disconnect between who we are and what we're going through or what we're experiencing. And the suffering comes in this gap where we don't have the skills we need. We don't feel like we have the care and attention or protection that we need. And so then we hurt, and then we ruminate over that and suffer. And then our brain learns that that's not good for us. So it starts to point us in directions where we don't run into those feelings. But feelings are just emotions, and yet they have such power over us. And herein lies the whole point of this conversation tonight. When something is failing, we often avoid looking at it because we don't want to feel the sense of failure, that sense of not good enough, that sense of imperfection, that sense of people not understanding who we really are and how wonderful we really are and what a light in the world we really are. So we do everything we can to not have to come into the truth that something we've been involved in is failing or has failed. But the thing about failure, the thing about failing is that is where the gold is. That is where the growth is. That is where the learning is. That is where the wisdom is. But you can't access growth and learning and wisdom and reconnection and mastery and matriarchal power unless you have worked your way through failing and realize that feelings can't really hurt you and that you are capable of learning how to grow your way through anything. But until you understand that truth, you will continue to avoid. You will continue to blame and deny and justify and defend your own actions so that somebody else has to sit with your own discomfort because you haven't learned that you can be with your big feelings and you will be okay, that you can sit with what it feels like to be you in all your fallibility, all your vulnerability, all your humanness. And you will survive, and therefore you will grow, and therefore you will give yourself every shot at thriving. But you can't have those things until you understand, until you deeply understand that in fact you need to fail to learn. We know I'm going to use this example, but we know that when a child is learning how to walk, they're not beating themselves up on the floor, going, why didn't you get it? Oh my gosh, this feels terrible. They bypass that whole thing. It hasn't been designed in them yet. They don't have the cognitive ability to do that yet. So they just get up and try again. And in the practicing comes the strengthening of the skills that are required to learn the thing they're failing at. And so it is for you and your life. Only this time you're learning about emotions, you're learning about feelings, you're learning about the human condition. And you're becoming an expert in yourself, an expert in your husband, an expert in your marriage. And in doing so, you have to sit with the falling over and learn from it. And then show up with a different set of skills. And then repair the damage that you did because you avoided it, or you got it wrong, or you blamed somebody else, or you were angry or critical or contemptuous, or you stonewalled, you avoided, you ignored, or you got really anxious and controlling. All the ways we use to feel safe are the very things that get in the way of learning, because all of those coping mechanisms delay the inevitable failing. That's why it takes couples 6 years to get to marriage therapy. And then most of the time, the therapy doesn't work. There is marriage therapy that does work, but it's not well known. And so, my darlings, you're afraid of your feelings. You're afraid of seeing yourself in the reflection of a mirror and really seeing the parts of you that could do with an upgrade. All of us have those parts. All of us are growing. And truly, the beauty of life, the real beauty, the real joy of life is transformation. It's moving from one thing to another. It's a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis and having to bite its way out bit by agonizing bit as it drags itself up. If you open that chrysalis for the butterfly doesn't build enough strength and it dies. It can't fly, because the very act of getting out of the chrysalis is the thing that makes it successful. And so if we're thinking about you and your marriage, and you're avoiding and you're blaming and you're failing, but you're minimizing it and you're blaming somebody else, or you're becoming contemptuous, or you're stonewalling, or you're avoiding it, or you're controlling it, the thing is, you're still failing. There's no shame in failing. There's no shame in failing. You know why? Because it just shows there's something to be learned, and there's no shame in learning. The whole entire point of life is to learn. The whole entire point of life is to learn and to grow. Don't be one of those women who grows old but never grows up. Don't be one of them. What you want to be is who you are. You want to unlock your potential and take the lessons that you have on offer for yourself and figure out what the answers are. Sometimes it will be skills, like in my Masterclass training. Sometimes it will be an emotional breakthrough. Sometimes it will be a reconnection and then a feeling of the pain to learn what the lesson is that sits underneath. Regardless, catch yourself when you're in the midst of a coping mechanism that isn't working for you. Shopping, drinking, using drugs, gambling, gaming, denying, blaming, justifying, defending, minimizing, avoiding, using anxiety as a controlling weapon. No, thank you. Those things are delaying the inevitable. And while you delay it, you're not buying time towards it magically getting better. This isn't a fairy tale, people. What you are actually doing is delaying your suffering. You have a wound from your marriage, from your life. You have many wounds. Using all of those coping mechanisms is like sticking a germy finger in the wound over and over again. That's the suffering. The healing comes from the clearing of the wound, the cleaning and the tending and the gentle working through of the wound so that it heals back up. And in doing so, you learn how to heal it. You learn who you are when you become a healer instead of a destroyer. You learn who you are when you are somebody who can sit with pain and allow it to heal by using new tools, by knowing who she is, by building a foundation that is rock solid. There is nothing wrong with failing. Failing is where the learning is. Failing is where everything is. You deserve to fail, and then you deserve to learn how to do whatever you have failed at in a way that has you feel successful, so that you can learn and grow from the difference of failure to success. There's a bridge that goes across. Cross the bridge, build the muscle, get the skill set, grow the wisdom, build the matriarchy that you have in yourself. This is exactly the life you were designed to lead. This is exactly who you are supposed to become. There is nothing wrong with failing. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for tuning into today's show. If you're feeling fired up and you're ready to grow and you want to know more about how to do that, here is what I want you to do now. I want you to watch my marriage masterclass. This masterclass will show you how my clients have turned their struggling marriages into thriving marriages, even without their husband's buy-in. How my clients have gone from cycles of poor communication, disconnect and loneliness to being teammates and soulmates with their husbands again, even after they've already tried everything. And the proven system my clients use to start transforming their marriages in minutes, not years, because life is too precious to waste one more minute in an unhappy and unfulfilling marriage. So if this is what you're looking for, I want you to click the link below and take a look at my masterclass.